Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John's reports for the 19th of September, and well, a rally continued right off that ABM. Became a significant key support, took us right to the 100% line, and that's where we're sitting right particularly at this particular point. We had slight weakness developing early on, and it's pretty much stabilized as we flattened out with the DOC steel here. It sort of modified right at the point and then began to turn up a little bit, and this just shows that every time we come to these key support lines, which has been pretty much the 76%, which is gradually moving up. If we look at it closer, it's really closer to the ABM green line, which right there around 80, which is just above where the low was. And what's really impressive about this is that doing all this while having lower shakeouts. So this is just that gold that popped up right here at 76 has led to the highs, so it's filled that necessary requirement and really done quite impressively. The only problem with that though is that you tend to get really big down bars when these kind of divergences happen, when a sell signal comes in, so it's something to be aware of and prepared for. Like here though on the NASDAQ, the dip down that took place early on intraday filled that need to retrace the low and did it all in one day. And those are always impressive when you see that take place. The euro staying outside that upper band definitely helped support the overall market. The recognition that interest rates are going to be climbing is sort of becoming clear to just about everybody in treasuries, so they're going to suffer more. And we're right at this precipice of breaking out into significant new highs for oil. That would be a potential negative catalyst. At this particular point, it's sort of in a sweet spot where you're kind of right where you want to be. It's not hyperinflationary, it's just progressive, if there's such a term for economic growth at a regular rate. Not getting any bid from gold or anything like that. I think even Bitcoin, if we take a look at it, let me pop that up real quick just so we can see it. It's been pretty much stuck in this range. I know there was this talk about this billion-dollar wallet that had been inactive for quite some time, finally popped up and started selling large tranches of coins. Something we haven't looked at is a 50K chart. Quite a while. It's been interesting because we had a few pretty decent runs with it. Let's look at a performance report real quick. Just why not? We haven't done that in a while. And here we are with where this is looking at. Let me shrink it a little bit so that it will fit in the window here. But I gotta shrink it more than that for you guys. There we go. That gets it into the screen. This goes all the way back a couple of years. So it's been a pretty steady move in these most recent configurations. And not bad in that 2-year period. 1.36, but even in that 1.36 profit factor and a 42% win rate for that, which I've always said this is a horrible win rate because this MBI Opus 2 looks for protracted runs, and so often you'll get break-evens or sells that are just like flat, but then it catches these big moves that tend to get outsized and really takes advantage of those. So interesting to see that. That's just based on a 10 contract buy, and obviously not hard to do the calculations by reducing and altering it. So anyway, intraday, good stuff here because we had the gold that was below the 100, and that's what made the lows coming down in the pre-market, and then they bought it up significantly on our nice little buy signal that came through, and that produced DOC spread with the right kind of combinations where you have green going where the orange was above and then the cyan breaks above. But this was an interesting one because as it was coming in there, you had gold, made it to the highs, so that sort of like answers that question. But then as it was coming down on the reset, you end up with this extreme situation where you don't go into oversold or into that magenta area where you're getting distribution. And I talked about this before. This was that key spot, and I put it on the Skype chat for everyone to pay attention to, is that steel crossing the just remove it so we can see it easy. Steel crossing the red within that down trek, and then it didn't take long for the bullish steel above orange. At the same time, you were getting the cross of the steel above cyan, and cyan dipping below zero. So shorts had pretty much faded completely at that point. Just recognizing this crossover opportunity to capture a little bit extra, knowing that break down below what the previous low was very tight range. In fact, we can look at what those numbers are just so that we have them. The low right there at the 95.50, and when you compare it to where the close of this one was 98.50, and by the time you get the complete solid one, you're up at 2,900 even, and so it just shows the little differentiation of several points that can be added into it. And then we just progressed into this, and every time we get the positive extremes, they filled from the second one on, and pretty much took care of each of these that popped in as the day went on. It does still leave the one at 2,900, so that one's the only one left to revisit. And this 2,905 was a previous one from way back, and that just shows how they love to gravitate to those. And what happened was that became a ceiling for a while, and then when there was enough support, and once it broke, it left a new range to really take off. This just happened to be where the ABM yellow was at that particular point. It's now lifted up once it made just a fractional new high before retracing right back to the 50% on what was a pretty clean DOC spread that took place right there. You had the nice opening of a real solid short snake, which was right here where you got clean, really sharp move. At the same time, green gets crossed coming to the downside. And so even with cyan below the red, that's where you get your nice looking snake configuration. And another one that was right here, I would consider the same. The difficulty with this one was you had a much higher value of the red, but it still produced a decent return all the way back down to the short algo in this particular case. So, and when we stabilized at the 50%, the range really shrunk right now, so we expect to break out of that range, currently in a bullish configuration at this spot. So really good action for the day. It was just a matter of sticking with it. Either the shorts at those peaks with the right configuration from a DOC spread, or the general long really pretty much staying above the ABM values going all the way until we got up to the peak, in which case you really don't care that you're getting stopped out in between some of these because you've had a pretty good capture run. So all in all, really good stuff. And as always, though, I will keep putting up relevant items on the Skype chat. Trade well.